Hi, this is Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing Live, and this is Power to Sing Live number 17. Our topic today um, is falsetto versus head voice. This continues to be um, a question that always comes up, and I want to be able to address a little bit more today this information. What's the difference between falsetto and head voice? I had a question this week from one of my YouTube subscribers, and it kind of felt like he was using the term falsetto for his head voice. But I must say, I started studying this technique in 1996, and in 97 my teacher left, and so I had a couple years on my own, and so I was listening to tapes and CDs, and I started studying with one of Seth Riggs' master teachers in January or February of 2000. And so I had been on my own and discovering a lot of things about my voice. But the first thing I asked in my very first lesson, I was up high in my register. He was taking me through some exercises, something like I don't know. Oh, and I said, "What is that?" He said, "What? That up there?" Oh, he said, "That's your head voice." Okay, so even then I was still a little uncertain. So let's talk about head voice versus falsetto. Let's talk about the difference of head voice versus falsetto. The very fundamental difference has to do with vocal cords, and I'm not going to. You can go to my my website, powertosing.com. Go to the Knowledge Center, look under the categories there, and look up falsetto. And there's a great video, falsetto versus head voice, and there's a video inside that shows the vocal cords. When you're singing, you're actually saying, oh. If you go into falsetto, the cords pop open like that. And then they don't ever really they just barely close. So if you're looking at it from this angle, you're singing along, oh, and they pop open. They don't come open that way, but oh, oh, and then they never quite close. You always have this little gap in the vocal folds. So there's a lot of air escaping. It's a condition of the vocal cords. The vocal folds are cords. So if I do that in a lower register so I can really show you, it's like a yodel. That's the disconnection of the vocal cords. Now, it's easy to hear and feel when you're in chest and you disconnect. I can't do it quite as distinctly up here. Well, if I pull my chest. You can hear that little crack open, right? Now, the vocal cords are in a condition of being disconnected. That's falsetto. Head voice is why it gets confusing. Head voice resonates in the head like falsetto. Well, okay, now we're getting really technical. So, I'm going to just do it in chest. That's falsetto. Did you hear that? You can hear that clunk back in, and it's clunky. And that's one reason why falsetto has a weakness in it. You can't just blend back down into your chest voice. But it's confusing because they both resonate up in the head, and they both have this feeling of release. Here's falsetto. Here's my head voice. The only difference is, Well, there's some differences. The main difference is that my head voice, the vocal cords haven't come apart. They haven't popped apart. Ah, ah. I'm demonstrating how it disconnects and connects, disconnects and disconnects. It's a yodel sound. And so you can hear a disconnect from head voice, or actually I'm just pulling my chest voice because it's easier for me to demonstrate it. When I'm in my head voice and I've bridged, and so I'm not pulling my chest voice higher, it's hard for me to disconnect. But to demonstrate it, if I pull my chest voice, you can hear it disconnect. I'll do it again. And so it sounds, if you continue talking like that, you sound like Mickey Mouse. And I do theater, and you can't do that. You can't sing that way. It doesn't work. And we can get away with it in pop sometimes, but there's limitations to. So let's talk a little bit about some of the differences, which will show some of the limitations, other limitations of falsetto. With the chords disconnected, that it does not blend back down into your chest voice. I've shown that to you. And so that's a limitation. The other limitation is if you stay in falsetto, what kind of chest voice is no chest? There's no chest. Until you reconnect, then you get in your chest. So there's no chest voice in falsetto. You can try and resonate down there, but you've disconnected from chest. And so you can never mix because there's no chest to it. So you have to have chest and head voice. You have to have chest and head to mix, and if you don't have any chest, how can you mix? You can't. So you've got to have chest voice available, and falsetto, you can't get into your chest until you clunk back in. Going into falsetto creates that flip or that crack. And again, I'm going to pull chest voice and then crack or flip out of chest. So I had to flip, or that's what I did to disconnect. It flipped or cracked into falsetto. After years of singing in falsetto, which very many, particularly the female classical or female operatic singer, they're singing in falsetto, but there's really truly a lot of female singers who've been trained to sing falsetto up high, and after years of doing that, the problem as the voice ages, they've only, if these were the vocal folds, and the falsetto is pretty much just up here. You're just the top portion of the vocal folds. And so you've got this portion down here that you've not used. You've heard the expression, if you don't use it, you lose it. So true. Think about it. If you don't exercise, your muscles atrophy. If you don't use the full vocal folds, vocal cords, you start to lose the capacity to them. So if you're in falsetto for years, well, what happens? You don't have the ability to control. You've got air blowing through there, and guess what? You develop a wobble. It's one of the real drawbacks to relying on falsetto all your life. Here's another issue. Excuse me. I'm coming off my 2 weeks plus 2 days of bronchitis. It's getting a lot better. If I said, oh, falsetto, oh, and I want to press into that, I'm just blowing the chords apart, the vocal cords, oh, ah. But if I'm in head voice, ah. So there's something to press into, whereas the falsetto blows the chords apart. Ah, ma, 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 ma. But if I'm in falsetto, ma, 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 ma. So I can't press in. And of course, if I go back down, I have to clunk back in. So in that falsetto, you can't press into it and get that power. Now, I know that there's many female voices that can get really, really loud in falsetto. But there's another quality. There's another quality of overtone that's missing. And that's from the disconnected falsetto. You don't pick up the overtones down below. So you've cut yourself off from part of your voice. I don't know. This is the high C. Let me see if I can find my head voice there. So you can hear there's a difference between so there's a limitation in terms of the tonal quality, and it's primarily the loss of the lower bottom, the bottom of your voice. It's the loss of chest. The chest is contributing no overtones at all to that voice. Now, I could keep going higher in head voice, and this is the message. You don't have to disconnect to go up high. You can keep the vocal cords together. Well, that's a high F. Not my best. And that's pretty high for me. That's the low E, and I usually have that. So a high F, I mean, that's the F5. That's pretty good for my vocal type. I mean, my classification. My vocal type is pulled chest high. My classification is pretty much based with some tenor notes. But you see how high I could take that head voice. So imagine what the ladies can do. They can take head voice. Oh my gosh, they can go. I've heard a lady do that. I guess that would be like the C7 connected head voice, not falsetto. Okay. Also, I think it's harder to understand the words. So if you're in falsetto, whatever the words are, there's a little bit of a muddle to it. And I've heard it especially down low. Whatever the words are, there's some muddle to it. It's kind of squishy. And you don't talk that way. Why would you sing that way? So anyway, whatever the words are, I'm connected. You can really understand them. So I just think it's more speech-like. Okay, similarities. I've touched on those before. They both resonate in the head, and the release feels very similar. There's a lot of freedom to both of them. Head voice blends right into the chest. So here's the thing. There's a lot of people who sing pop and stylistically want to crack or want to flip. Sarah McLachlan on the song Angel, is that the name of the song? Flips, she cracks, she does the flip all the time. And it's, into falsetto. And I think it's a style choice. But here's the problem. If you have to flip to sing the note, you are limited. Your voice is limited. If you choose to flip to make a stylistic choice into falsetto for a style effect, fine, go right ahead. But if you have to do that because that's the only way you can do it, Why live with that limitation? Because you don't have to do it that way, and there's so many advantages of head voice. So that's my discussion on head voice versus falsetto. If you have any questions about that, I'd like to address them now, and or am I back? It looks like I was down for a minute. Down again. Okay, it seems to be back on. Sorry, you guys. Didn't realize I was fluctuating in and out of the stream. Okay. Thank you for the comment on the beautiful camera. We can hear you great. Canary Islands. Hi, Claudia. Boy, it sounds nice. It's snowing here in Salt Lake City, Utah area. Sylvester, Abba, thanks. I'm glad that you're here live. Greetings from Hungary. Esther, hi. Okay, so I had a moment there where the stream was down. Sergi said it seems so. Hopefully he'll come back on. Yep, he's back. Down again. Okay, seems back on. Sorry for the fluctuation there, you guys. Is there a resonance difference between falsetto and head voice? The resonance, there's pretty much the falsetto and head voice resonates in the same location, and that's usually above the soft palate. When so it's up in the head register, so up in the head cavities. And but as you heard, I can bring that resonance down into my mouth and try and get into my chest. It's pretty hard. And I've heard female singers do the same thing. Oh, there's not much there, but it's not strictly head. But primarily it's the upper and where people break or crack into falsetto, and so it resonates in the same location as head voice. I do, if we talk about tonal quality, I do believe there's a definite tonal quality that's missing with falsetto, and that's the loss of the bottom, the loss of the chest overtones. Okay, pretty high, yeah. Nods and winks. That wasn't not a quality F5, but it was there. Anyone else a beginner singer? Well, all beginners, right? I mean, we're all learning, we're all growing, we're all developing, and so at some level, we're beginners. I can't, this is Sylvester, I can't sing this loud as you in head voice. Whenever I increase the volume of my voice, I go into flip. What can I do to sound louder in head voice? Sylvester, what's happening is the larynx is coming up. And so the exercises that I have for the flip falsetto, it's probably will help, or the exercises for pulled chest, high larynx. Because a lot of times the reason why people flip or crack is because the larynx is rising and it pulls the vocal cords apart. Larynx is going up. And so, yeah, you can, and so if you, let's just say you're going to, you say goo, 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 goo. If you do that correctly, you can keep the vocal cords together. Now, where we get into trouble is when we try and do it too loud, too early on. It's like you just learned to ride your bicycle. We just took the training wheels off, and now you're riding a two-wheeler. You're still kind of like balancing. And I say, okay, go down this gigantic hill and without any hands. it takes some time to develop the coordination and the balance so that you can increase the volume without it cracking or flipping. Another thing to remember is make sure the vowel is staying more more closed. So if I said, oh, if I start to open that, oh, then the larynx is going to come up, and it's very likely I'm going to crack. But if I say, oh, don't change anything, keep that vowel, what you would term maybe as pure, oh, or even close it down a little bit more towards ooh. Ooh. A lot of time it's a vowel opening up that causes the larynx to come up and then the vocal cords coming apart. Be patient with yourself, Sylvester. It'll come. But make sure that you're doing the exercises correctly. This is another comment I had this week that someone was practicing 3 times a day. And if you practice 3 times a day incorrectly, you're just going to reinforce negative habits, bad habits. So practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And so you can make tremendous progress just doing them once a day exactly correct. What is the best head voice, or what is the best exercise to practice head voice? There's no snow, Claudia. I want to go to the beach. Is what I want to do. What's the best exercise to practice head voice? Well, number one, you've got to be able to get through the for the female voice, A, B flat, B, and C, C sharp. You've got to be able to get through that without the larynx coming up, without pulling the chest voice up, or without flipping in the falsetto, or without going breathy, without going too light. So I would say the beginning is you've got to know how to bridge so that you can transition into head voice. If you can't and you have to break or you have to pull the chest voice through there, then it's not going to be successful. So that's the beginning exercise, I would say. So I don't know, Claudia, if you have already got your vocal type at the website, powertosing.com. Go there. You can take a vocal test, find out your vocal type, and then if it is full chest, high larynx, let's say, then there are exercises you can download, and those are the ones that I would recommend because they're all going to help either get the chord structure together or keep the larynx down or keep from to train the voice not to just let go into falsetto. And those exercises are what I'd recommend first. Once you've mastered those, you're going to be able to get into your head voice, and it's going to help you access head voice. I'm a non-singer, laugh out loud. I can do a mean Leonard Cohen, though. Great. It's very difficult for me to keep my neck muscles relaxed. I also do your goo-goo exercises, and it's very helpful, but I can't keep that relaxed feeling as long as 15 minutes. Well, it's not easy. That's why it's hard, especially because we have years of old habits, right? Watch out, don't do it loud. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I have made through the years, is trying to do it too loud, too fast. The goo 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 is awesome to take the tension out. Goo 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 goo. Now, so it's Faraz. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing your first name, Khan. If you say goo 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 goo, or goo 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 goo, you can practice changing vowels on the same note so that you keep the same release the same tensionless sound that you made with goo 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 goo. Try it on a different vowel then. Go go go. Go to go 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 go. But don't change anything. Don't go goo 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 go go go. Maintain the go exactly where the goo was. Maintain the g where the go. Goo 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 goo. And that will train you to keep the tension out as you move to other words or move to other vowels. That's a really good exercise. Hi, I'm doing what you did in the video while explaining going back and forth from chest to falsetto. If I try to F4 or higher, how could I avoid this? Let me make sure I understand here. I am doing what you did in the video while explaining going back and forth to chest and falsetto. If I try for F4 or higher, I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm sorry. If you could rephrase it for me, I'd like to avoid that. I mean, I'd like to answer that. Okay, so let me go on to Sweetie Laugh a Lot. Is F4 in the low range or high range? I'm still learning about singing. Is F4 the higher? And higher is for head voice. If you're a man, yes. So for men, where you start to experience the transition, that is when you're leaving your low voice to your high voice, most of us transition here. Here's middle C on the piano, and that's the E. That's where that transition begins. And so the F is right next to it. So it's actually the E4, F4, F sharp 4. For the ladies, that transition begins at the A, B flat, B, and C, all those above middle C, the C sharp. So this is where many people want to crack into falsetto because they don't know how to make that transition from chest to head voice, and so they break. Hi, Don. Would you say that singing in a powerful mixed voice depends on a strong chest voice or a strong head voice? It depends, and that's a really good question, because we think, oh, well, I'll spend all my time developing my chest, or I'll spend all my time developing my head voice, and then that's going to make a strong mix. What creates the strongest mix is working in the mix, working in the area of the mixed voice that's in the bridge, in the mixed condition. So with both chest and head voice functioning in a balanced way, that is what's going to build and to create a powerful mix. So the problem with spending time building up the chest voice, or let's say just building up the head voice, is that the other one gets left behind. You lock yourself out of the other voice. So you want to approach it from the standpoint of working the middle, and you're going to find that chest and head are going to come along together, and that mix is going to grow powerful. It's a mistake to focus only on one voice or the other, because you're always going to have because mix is about balance between the two, and you're always going to be imbalanced. And I'm going to talk about Seth Riggs for a second. What he's pretty much discovered was that by working to develop that middle, that mix area, your chest and head voice are healed also, okay? So they also become strong and powerful. But to do one chest or the other head exclusively to build up the mix is never going to work. Nice room, there's snow. Oh, my wife is watching. She said there's more snow on the north side of the house than I'm on the west side. Thanks for answering. My pleasure. Thank you, Ferris Khan. I agree. This has been. Thank you. Nods and winks. Perfect practice makes perfect. Thank you, sir. I am holding on to that. That was Sylvester. That was given to me by a music director that I had in one of my shows. So I can't claim it as original, but I think it's a really great point. Claudia, thanks for your answer. I used to be a singer that have light chest, no chest, and I found chest voice. But when I go higher, I flip the falsetto. All right, so Claudia, this is so common. So many singers who have had light chest, no chest, once they get chest voice, what's the first thing they do? They start pulling chest voice too high. And that causes the larynx to come up, and it causes the flip. It causes it to crack. And so goo, goo, goo is a great way to get through that. The exercises for flip falsetto, and you might want to look at the exercises for pulled chest, high larynx in the Knowledge Center. Both of those are probably going to help you. So if we pull too much of that chest voice, then it's going to cause us to flip. So a couple tips, even when you're doing the goo goo goo, gee gee gee. I'll start right here on the D above middle C. Goo 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 goo. Now, Claude, if you hear yourself saying goo 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 goo, it's the larynx coming up. Goo 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 goo. You got to keep it hooty. Goo 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 gee 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 gee. If I said gee 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 gee, then it's going to you're just pulling the chest voice up. So keep that kind of a dopey hooty sound. Gee 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 gee. Okay, so we're getting a little bit long here. I was wanting to stop on the hour so that we don't take too much of everyone's time, and people who watch the replay appreciate it too. I hope that helps a little bit, Claudia. By the way, is this crack into falsetto also very obvious for women? It's not as much, Sergey. That's a great question. As a teacher, especially as a new teacher, I had a really hard time hearing when a female singer was letting go or flipping into falsetto. The ladies, I think, can hide it a lot easier than us guys. So I don't think it's as obvious at all. It depends on how they do it and where. If you think of, Sarah McLachlan, watch her sing Angel. The other singer I'm thinking of, you guys will help me. She says, and I. She flips. So if I do it here, and I will always love you. So she does that crack flip, and it's really obvious to hear that because she's pulling her chest, and then she flips and cracks back and forth, kind of does a little yodel. You guys, I'm sorry, I just can't remember her name right off the bat. Sorry. She's deceased now, but great singer early in her career, but had started pulling chest, got into trouble, and then her lifestyle hurt her voice. Chuck, would you please demonstrate how to use messe de voce to strengthen head and mixed voice? So, this is not an easy thing to do, but if you can access the head voice as we've been talking about, way I can do that is to be in my head voice, because if I were in falsetto, I couldn't lean on it like that. So that's a demonstration of how to do it, and to strengthen the head. That kind of exercise. You can take it and say no 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 no. But be careful that the no doesn't go into your chest like this. No 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 no. Keep the no where the new was. So I almost am just thinking the difference. That will help you do that a little messe de voce, and it will build your mix tremendously over time. Thanks for clarifying. Mixed voice is a balance between chest and head. Exactly. Well, I mean, a perfect mix is. There are different qualities of mix, but it's a balance. It is a balance. It's a balance of air and muscle, and we find it in time. Okay, well, thank you guys. So wonderful to have you join me today, and I wish you a great week. And I'll see you in one of the later videos. So remember that you can sing higher with beauty, confidence, and power. I have to say that the things that I'm showing you today, I could never do. I couldn't do any of this. Even at age 20 years ago, I couldn't. Well, it's 20 years ago is when I discovered this. And so I was 43 before I first began to realize that there was even such a thing as a head voice. So you're very fortunate. Most all of you are younger, and you have so many exciting things ahead of you. It just changes the whole world, and it brings such great joy into your lives. So you can sing higher with beauty, confidence, and power. I'll see you inside the next video. Thanks for joining me. See ya.